Hey, what's up guys? So let's talk about all the new radar detectors that have recently been released, the new firmware updates that have come out for existing detectors to add new features, or fix different bugs, or basically improve the existing detectors that we're using, or even some of the current detectors that have since been discontinued. Now, it's been about 2 months since I've done one of these videos, which is really nice because it means since I haven't waited a whole year, this shouldn't be a half-hour long video. The last time I did it was back in August. It's now October, and as you can tell, the rainy season has now arrived here in Seattle. But with that said, there's still been quite a bit of stuff that's changed. We're going to be focusing on Escort, Radenso, as well as Uniden here in this video. And also, I've got a couple detectors here that after I've finished talking about them and telling you about them, I actually want to give them away to you guys. So with that said, let's just go ahead and jump right into it and talk about all the cool stuff that we've seen here over the past 2 months. So starting right off the bat, let's go ahead and begin with Escort. We'll start with the Max 360. I've done a series of videos talking about the new firmware update, so as you guys know, firmware 1.6 or 1.3, depending on what version of the Max 360 that you have, is now available. In short, the main benefit of it is improved BSM filtering. It's not perfect yet, of course, no detector is, but it's definitely an improvement over what we had before. In testing, we are seeing to a certain extent some negative impacts to performance, but it looks like the reactivity is still pretty good. The range is still usable in all. Auto mode does seem to be kind of a reduction in performance from time to time, but Escort said there's no change to auto mode, but we are seeing some impacts to performance. But with the improved BSM filtering, that is definitely really nice. Now, one weird thing that we're seeing that I haven't talked about yet on video is sometimes when the Max 360 detects a K-band alert, that can actually cause the detector to lock up and freeze, and you would actually have no idea that your detector is no longer detecting radar anymore. I've actually seen this myself in bench testing, where you look at the detector and it just locks up on screen, but others have actually reported the same issue just driving around day to day, and, well, again, they didn't realize that the detector had pretty much stopped functioning. You can, of course, power cycle the detector, but you'd have to actually take a look at it and realize something has gone wrong. So the new firmware update is definitely not without a couple hiccups here and there, but at least the BSM filtering is an improvement here with the Max 360. Now, speaking of which, iOS 11 just recently came out for the iPhone, and Apple changed a lot of things with respect to Bluetooth, and it actually broke Bluetooth compatibility with a lot of different detectors. Some manufacturers have already updated this, like V1 Driver, the app for the iPhone, and the Valentine one. When iOS 11 was being beta tested, the developer realized this change had been made, and he went ahead and updated the app so that by the time we got it, iOS 11 released to the public, everything was working fine. Escort did not do this, and so when iOS 11 hit, a lot of detectors running Escort Live, the functionality just broke and stopped working properly. However, Escort actually just released an update for those of us who are running the Escort Max 360, specifically the older ones with the original serial numbers, and you can tell because the serial number actually starts with 79, so the Max 360, as well as the Escort Passport Max 2, the Escort Passport, as well as any Escort Live power cables. If you have any of those affected detectors, you can actually go and download the update now for your detectors, which will fix Bluetooth compatibility for those of you guys running an iPhone. This is an iPhone thing, not so much an Android thing. Two weird things about it. Number one, the update is available, but it only works currently on Windows computers. And so while Escort has update software called Detector Tools that works for both Windows and Mac, the update only works if you're running it on the Windows software. Currently, I'm running a Mac, so I can't do the update, and on my Windows VM, I'm having trouble installing the Escort software for Windows, and so I haven't been able to update my detectors, but a number of people on the forums have been able to update it, and they said it's resolved the issue, which is awesome. The second weird thing about it is it doesn't actually change the firmware version number on the 360. And so, for example, if you've got firmware version 1.6 before the update, when you go to run the update, it's still going to say firmware version 1.6. It doesn't actually jump to 1.7. And so basically it just comes down to update your detectors if you have the affected ones, and you're going to need a Windows computer to do it. For those of you guys running a Mac, like myself, Escort has said it's not something in the near future. I guess it's something they're working on, but it's not something that's going to be coming out tomorrow. So if you need the update, you'll need a Windows computer to go ahead and do it. Now, speaking of updates, there's been, two updates made available for the Escort Redline EX, both a software update and a hardware update. So firmware version 1.2 has been released. There's no impacts to performance or filtering. The only change is they fixed a bug when the detector sometimes would display replace FR on screen. So there's now a firmware update which has resolved this issue. Now there's also a hardware update that's been made available. If you have an affected detector, you can just send it into Escort and they will fix it, or if you buy a new detector, it already has the fix. Now this fix is for when you're taking the detector on and off the magnetic mount. That can actually cause the detector to false alert to radar when going on and off the mount. Now the fix for that is underneath the magnetic mount right here, they can actually install a little shield that goes between the horn that detects the signal and the mount itself that prevents any sort of magnetic wonkiness going in and triggering a radar alert inside the detector. So it's a hardware update for the magnetic mount falsing, and then a software update for the replace FR issues. Other than that, that's pretty much everything for Escort. And next, let's go ahead and jump into Radenso. Now, Radenso's got quite a bit of stuff changing up. You've got the Radenso Pro, which was Radenso's first detector that they released here in the US. This guy's been discontinued. They then released the Radenso Pro SE, the special edition, which has the LNA and it's got better performance. This sold a lot better than the original Radenso Pro. However, this guy has since been discontinued, but there's updates coming for it, which I'll talk about in just a second. So Radenso Pro and Radenso Pro SE discontinued. Both great detectors, of course, still being supported and all, but no longer going to be available for sale. Now, we've also got the Radenso SP. This detector, very short-lived. It has been discontinued as well. The Radenso XP that came out first, turns out this guy sold a lot better. Has GPS, no GPS, but $150 less. The GPS is super, super helpful, and that would explain why most people actually bought the XP. The SP didn't sell as well, and so Radenso has decided to discontinue it. Again, still great detector, great BSM filtering. You got a lot of control over it, all that kind of stuff. But this one is being discontinued. Oh, one other one, well, I guess two other ones that are being discontinued. Where are they? Got so many detectors here. The Radenso Pro motorcycle version. They have like a little dongle that sticks out so you can plug in headphones, a headset if you're riding a motorcycle. Those are being discontinued as well. And they didn't sell that well. They just kind of wanted to trim down their inventory and all the different products that they have. And then also the Radenso HD Plus, their remote mount detector that's installed in your grill. This guy is being discontinued as well. Now, you may be like, what the heck? They're discontinuing so many detectors. Well, there's new stuff that's coming out as well, and they're really simplifying their lineup. So at this point, what we're seeing is it's going to be 3 detectors. We're going to have the Radenso XP. They're also going to have the Radenso Pro M-edition. This isn't it, but it looks just like this. I've actually got one coming in, and so I'm going to be doing some videos on it once they get some more in stock and send it to me. The Radenso Pro M-edition is pretty much the Radenso Pro SE, but it adds MRCD detection, especially for those of you guys up in Canada. And this one is actually looking really, really good. I'll talk more about it here in just a second. So that's going to be the second detector. And then they're also going to be releasing the Radenso RCM, which is based on the same idea as the HD Plus, except now instead of requiring the ALP to be the brains or having the older, kind of ugly and dated Beltronics 975 be the brains, you're now going to have Radenso's own standalone setup like this. So it's kind of fully functional. It's got an updated display and lockouts and all that kind of stuff. Got it here in my car. I've been beta testing it. So far, so good. We don't have the American firmware for it yet. We're still beta testing with Euro firmware. But that's going to be coming as well, and that's going to be their third detector. So now let's go ahead and run through them real quick. XP, nothing really new to report there. The Radenso Pro M-edition. This is one of the biggest things. So that one is going to be a direct competitor to the Redline EX. So let's pretend this is the RPME. This is the Redline EX. They both have, long-range performance and GPS lockouts and MRCD detection and RDD immune and all that kind of stuff, right? Now, the thing is, the Redline EX, originally, this was the better choice, but there's a new beta firmware that's being tested for the RPME. It's beta version 24, and it's looking to be very impressive. Now, first of all, as far as the BSM filtering, they're saying it's on par with the Radenso XP now, which is very impressive. This guy is really good in terms of BSM filtering, and the new RPME, they're saying should be comparable. Additionally, if we take a look at the performance benchmark, which is the Uniden R3, the Redline EX cannot keep up with the R3. The R3 is definitely a better performer. However, compared to the RPME, it can almost keep up with the R3. It's actually giving the R3 a really good shot for its money, whereas the Redline EX, not so much. So this guy has better performance. It's going to have better BSM filtering. When it comes to MRCD detection, this guy actually falses more than this guy. I actually plan on doing a whole comparison with the Redline EX and RPME once it actually comes in. But for those of you guys in Canada, pay attention. The RPME is looking really good. There's a couple people on RDF that are already beta testing it, but this is going to be looking like a very promising detector, and this is going to be Radenso's other option in addition to the XP for your 2 windshield mount detectors. Now, one really nice thing about the RPME is all the updates that they're working on, including the BSM filtering and all that kind of stuff, is going to be coming out for the RPSE, the original Radenso Pro, and they're also going to be bringing it over to their remote mount detector, the RCM. So all the stuff going there is going to benefit all of Radenso's other detectors as well. Now, these detectors that I've got here, I want to go ahead and give them away to you guys, and specifically to my Patreon supporters. So this Radenso Pro that I've got here, the Radenso Pro SE, as well as the Radenso SP that I've got here. All 3 of these detectors I want to go ahead and give away to you guys. Radenso sent them to me for testing purposes and to make videos and all that kind of stuff. And since I don't need them anymore, again, still great detectors, still being supported and updated and all that kind of stuff, I want to go ahead and pass them right along to you guys. So for those of you guys who are supporting me on Patreon, they're now going to be available here, coming very soon. If you don't support me yet, you can hop on patreon.com/vortexradar. I've got a number of different radar detectors and also a couple different dash cams that I'm going to be giving away here very soon as well. Now, talking about the Radenso RCM, the remote mount detector, this is actually going to be coming out here very soon. It's scheduled to be released November 3rd, so less than a month from now. In terms of pricing, if you're going to want the front antenna only version, that's going to retail for $14.99. If you want arrows and you want the second rear facing antenna, that's going to be another $250, and it's going to cost $17.49. The RCM is going to have MRCD detection, just like the Radenso Pro M-edition will. That's going to be just for the front antenna. The rear antenna is not going to have MRCD detection, which is actually really a good thing. I remember when we were testing it with like the Stinger VIP, if you get 2 antennas for it, you get unnecessarily ridiculously long range detection with the MRCD in the rear. It was like way unnecessary. So it's really nice. I like that Radenso is going to be doing MRCD just for the front and not for the back. And again, just like the RPME, all of the front facing antennas are going to have MRCD detection. And then finally, moving right along to Uniden, we've been beta testing the new firmware, firmware version 1.31. I've done a video kind of giving a little preview about it. There's a number of different features that it's bringing, and they've all been talked about on RDF. But again, the main thing just for now is the band segmentation. In short, I'm going to do a video when it gets released, but yes, it is looking like it's giving a very nice improvement to performance. It makes the detector faster to alert, which is really nice, and it's now giving it even longer range than it had before, which is kind of ridiculous considering this already had the crown for long range detection and performance, and now this new firmware update is going to allow it to perform even better yet. So really, really impressive stuff there from Uniden. There was one instance where the red line was actually able to get, it was looking like longer range, specifically because it was faster to react, because it was scanning a narrower range of frequencies. Open Road was actually testing it. I'll put a link in the video description to all that kind of stuff. But he was finding that the increased reactivity from scanning less and less, ranges of radar was actually making the detector faster. And that was kind of one sort of oddball case, kind of an exception to the rule, where the red line could actually outperform the Uniden. Now with this new firmware update, that kind of one exception to the rule no longer applies, and now the Uniden is across the board able to outperform the red line. It's no longer in like 98% of situations, but now it's like pretty much across the board. I don't want to say 100% because weird things can still happen and whatnot, but yeah, awesome detector. Really great to see the improvements here. And again, there's more stuff that's going to be coming as well. As far as the release date, it should be coming out very, very soon. It's planned to actually be released this month. And so once it comes out, again, I'll post a video on that one as well. And you can just go to Uniden's website, download the update software, also Windows only right now, and update the R1 and the R3. So that firmware update is coming soon as well. So anyway, there you go. There's a look at all the different, I guess not really a ton of new detectors that have come out, some, but mostly updated detectors and some that have been discontinued. Down in the video description, I'll have a ton more information as far as where you can purchase any of the detectors that we talk about, whether you're in US or down in Canada, as well as different information to the different tests and where you can go to update the detectors or read more about the firmware updates, or where you can sign up for Patreon or any of the kind of stuff that we talked about here in this video. All that information will be down in the video description. So awesome. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys in the next video.